It looks like the former president who promised his supporters they'd get tired of winning has continued his losing streak. Trump had requested a new trial in the E. Jean Carroll defamation case, calling the $5 million award for Carroll a, quote, seriously erroneous result. Judge Kaplan has denied his request for a new trial, saying that the jury in this case did not reach a seriously erroneous result and that its verdict is not a miscarriage of justice, which means that Donald Trump will not only have to pay the $5 million that he was seeking to get decreased or eliminated, but he'll also have to look forward to the next trial against the same plaintiff in front of the same judge for a not entirely dissimilar complaint. And I'm not going to guarantee that E. Jean Carroll is going to win, but I really wouldn't want to be Donald Trump in this case. And bear in mind, that case is all the more difficult for Donald Trump given the fact that just days ago, he issued new defamatory claims against E. Jean Carroll after the DOJ withdrew itself from defending him in court. He'd taken to Truth Social, writing, "The DOJ will not defend me in the E. Jean Carroll civil case, which is all part of the political witch hunt, lawyered up by a political operative who I just beat in another case, financed by a big political funder, and judged by a Clinton appointee who truly hates Trump. The statements that I made about Carroll are all true. I have no idea who she is, what she looks like, or anything about her. The net result of this horrible injustice, where a completely unknown to me woman made up a ridiculous story, wrote it in many books to increase publicity and sales. I correctly disputed the story and got sued for defamation, whereupon a hostile judge and jury shockingly awarded a woman who I don't know, have never known, and don't want to know $5 million, while at the same time throwing out the fake rape claim. We are strongly appealing this travesty of justice." And as I mentioned, that new temper tantrum was set off by the development that the DOJ would not substitute itself in as the defendant in Trump's second defamation case against Carroll. When Bill Barr was the Attorney General in the White House, he allowed his own Department of Justice to do so under this baffling assertion that everything Trump did while in office was acting within the scope of his duties as president, even apparently attacking his own abuse victim. And then under Merrick Garland, the DOJ eventually reversed that decision because clearly defaming E. Jean Carroll was not within the scope of Donald Trump's presidential duties. And the fact that this was ever even a question goes to show what a dumpster fire Bill Barr's DOJ was. And so because the DOJ won't be defending Trump in this upcoming defamation trial, it'll be up to Trump and his team to defend him, which is a tall order considering, as I mentioned before, he was already found liable once for defamation, and the comments at issue in this second trial are virtually identical. And of course, the case was also recently amended to include comments that Trump made during his CNN town hall, which will not only bolster Carroll's already airtight case against him, but will almost certainly assure that the damages she's awarded will be even higher.
Do you think that will deter women from voting for you?
No, I don't think so, because I think the whole thing, just so you understand, ready? I never met this woman. I never saw this woman. This woman said, I met her at the front door of Bergdorf Goodman, which I rarely go into other than for a couple of charities. I met her in the front door. She was about 60 years old, and this is like 22, 23 years ago. I met her in the front door of Bergdorf Goodman. I was immediately attracted to her, and she was immediately attracted to me. And we had this great chemistry. We're walking into a crowded department store. We had this great chemistry, and a few minutes later, we end up in a room, a dressing room of Bergdorf Goodman, right near the cash register. And then she found out there were locks on the door, so she said, I found one that was open. She found one. She learned this at trial. She found one that was open. What kind of a woman meets somebody and brings them up, and within minutes, you're playing hanky-panky in a dressing room, okay? I don't know if she was married then or not. John Johnson, I feel sorry for you, John Johnson.
Mr. President.
After this aired, Carroll's team amended their court filing saying, quote, this conduct supports a very substantial punitive damages award in Carroll's favor, both to punish Trump, to deter him from engaging in future defamation, and to deter others from doing the same. And that's the part that Trump doesn't seem to grasp here. The whole point of punitive damages that Trump was forced to pay in the initial defamation case was to punish him and deter him from future defamation. And yet, what did Trump do within 24 hours of getting hit with the verdict? He engaged in more defamation. And what did he do again on Truth Social? More defamation still. Which is why E. Jean Carroll is now basically saying, clearly Donald Trump has learned nothing from those inadequate punitive damages imposed in the first trial, so clearly we have to increase that amount. And while we don't know what number she'll be awarded in the end, the goal is obviously to reach a point where the punishment is felt enough to actually deter Trump from defaming anyone in the future. And so while we don't know how high that number has to go for him to finally notice, it certainly is going to be high. And by the way, that is literally how the system works. As violations accumulate, the punishment becomes more and more severe. If you go to court with no priors, you might get off with a slap on the wrist. But if you go to court with a whole rap sheet or a whole list of priors like Donald Trump has here, that's taken into account, and the consequences consequences are generally worse. Donald Trump is proving to the court in real time that he is not willing to take the law seriously, that he doesn't think it applies to him. And so the onus then will be on the court to determine a punishment that reaches a level that might actually make the guy pay attention. Their job is to keep slapping him with punishments until he finally recognizes that he is not above the law. And that's a point I discussed with former federal prosecutor Glenn Kirshner as part of our YouTube-only legal series, The Legal Breakdown.
But I really think this one is just going to be about the damages, how much Donald Trump should be made to pay. I think E. Jean Carroll has upped the ask to $10 million, if I'm not mistaken. And I could easily see the jury doubling the $5 million verdict they awarded E. Jean Carroll in the last trial. Why? Because after the jury handed down its verdict in favor of E. Jean Carroll, Donald Trump ran out to the cameras and did it all over again, defamed her all over again. Nobody will ever accuse Donald Trump of learning from his mistakes.
Yeah, well, someone should let Susan Collins know. Glenn, given the fact that Trump did already lose that first defamation case, is there any plausible deniability he has here? Is there any defense that he has here that could result in this case being any different for him?
Zero. The only thing he can do is play for a hung jury, try to pick off a juror or two, hang the jury, and then force it to a retrial. But he has no defense on the facts or the law.
And it's not just the money, by the way. It's also the fact that Trump is making a mockery of the legal system by so quickly and publicly discarding its verdict. E. Jean Carroll's attorney, Roberta Kaplan, said, "It makes a mockery of the jury verdict and our justice system if he can just keep on repeating the same defamatory statements over and over again." And of course, it isn't just this case where Trump has displayed his disdain for the legal system. And the fact that he's contending with 2 indictments and 71 charges so far, with 2 more indictments very likely on the way, if not days away, is a testament to the fact that that same legal system is now operating to hold him to account for those very crimes. Which, by the way, is a pretty clear testament to how the leader of the self-proclaimed Law and Order Party actually feels about law and order. So good on E. Jean Carroll for continuing to take a hard line against Trump amid his refusal to take responsibility for his own actions. This childish obstinance might work on everyone else, but to her credit, she's found a way to now monetize every single time Trump tells a lie. And knowing the ease with which he can do that, Carroll basically figured out how to print money for herself. So here's to hoping for another favorable outcome, and I'd say that I hope this chapter finally comes to an end for her, but if his lies mean that she becomes a multi-millionaire anew every time he does it, then maybe we shouldn't be in such a rush to keep him quiet. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to this channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.